I might as well just say it. Because I've kept it in for too long and now I'm going to rant about it because I'm actually at the point where I'm going to go up to, if I see Michael D. Higgins, and tell him that he should be, he wouldn't put him in charge of a kettle, let alone the army. He's head of the army. He's commander-in-chief of the army. He has total control of the army. He can order the army to do something and nobody would say anything against him. And I don't know why he's even, if that was me and if I was president, if I was in his position, I would sign. And as simple as that. Because I wouldn't have my name said that the army's in this bad of a state. I wouldn't treat my men like that. If I was commander-in-chief of the army, I wouldn't treat it. As simple as that. I wouldn't even dare to treat my men like that. Why would you do... And this brings me to this. Another. I might as well just make every video about the army because literally the government can't find any other way to fuck up the army as bad as they are now. Because they're making it even worse than themselves. And I just say this straight to everybody. The army have been neglected. The government's taken advantage of the army. And as simple as that, the Navy and the Air Corps too. Because they won't strike. They can't strike. Under the Constitution of Ireland, it's deemed treason and it's deemed a rebellion. That's what, and under the First Amendment of the Constitution, the army cannot strike. Same with the guards. It's a deemed rebellion. It's deemed rebellion circumstances, and they can put in the Emergency Powers Act and they put down the rebellion. So just that's just to put there, but they can't strike, and the government's taking advantage of that because the nurses can strike, the doctors can strike, or the paramedics, the ambulance drivers can strike. The guards can take sick leave. The guards could just take a sickie and don't bother to come in. But the army can't do such a thing like that because that's treason. Obviously, the thing I'm talking about is all over the news. The Irish Navy. So, they're complaining about docking. There's not enough staff. So they have to dock the ships in ports and leave them there because, you know what, the taxpayer spent about 37, maybe 38 million on building Irish Navy ships. Why not leave them in a port and leave them just sitting there for 5 or 6 weeks? It'd be grand. No, the reason why, you might as well just say it straight out, is because there's no staff to man the guns or man anything of the Irish Navy because there's absolutely, everybody's leaving the Navy. This is the last change they made in the last increase of money hasn't done damn jack shit, and that's really as simple as that. I'm not gonna, my apologies for my own political language, but it's absolutely terrible how bad they're treating them. It's actually not even funny how bad it is. And it's not even funny how Michael D. Higgins could even say that he's president of Ireland. It's not even funny. Him over in Germany. I don't know where they're getting the money. I want to ask Michael D. Higgins, where's they getting the money? Why can they not give the soldiers that money that Michael D. Higgins is over in Germany in his big 5-star hotel in the middle of Berlin looking out at the Brandenburg Gate? Why are they not giving the army the money? I would rather that than him over in Berlin. Don't know, God knows what he's doing, sitting there doing nothing. If I was president, if he was a good president, he'd be saying, you know what? Give it to the army. The army deserve more than me. I'm going over there on a holiday. The army are in barracks in all across Ireland. They haven't even got a cent to their name. And in debt. And you know what he decides to do? Go off on a holiday to Germany. Because you know what? Why not? Why not? Why not? The army are in terrible crisis. This is obviously a crisis. Because these are 3 or 4 naval ships. 2 of them, to be precise. The 2 naval ships were docked in a port, right? For God knows how long. They were docked because the lack of maintenance, the government says, but it's obviously the lack of staff. It doesn't take a professor to find that out. And I just want to say this to Leo Varadkar. How would you treat people like that? This is the truth. You're treating, as one soldier said to me, who's in the army at the moment in time, who's planning to leave the army because you know what? Because he has it up to here with it. He actually has it up to here with the army. I wouldn't blame. It's 7 or 8 years of service in the army. I wouldn't put up. Wouldn't put up with. I would need to just mutiny the army myself if I was in the army at the moment in time because that's how bad I feel like this. As he said to me, to get better treatment than Mountjoy, and he might as well become a prisoner because that's where he'd be better getting in Mountjoy because you get a telly, you get better accommodations and everything. You get all the, you get all the VIP treatment when you're a gangster and the rest of that. To treat the soldiers. And it just boils down to every house. If you do good in society, and this is always what I say to everybody, if you do good in society, you're a good citizen, you pay your taxes, you do everything like that, the government just takes a shit on you. And that's really as simple as that. And if you kill people, if you murder people, if you do drugs, if you break every law in the state, If you're convicted 7,000 times of a law, of breaking the law in this state, you get a medal for it. You get an honorary citizenship. Because why not? Because that's the way this country's gone. Because you know what? Because they don't care about the people who are putting their lives on the line, who are getting up at 5:30 every morning for running around the army base. They don't care about that. They don't care. You know what they care about? They care about police and bikers. They care about police and buses. They care about talking to people that's absolutely in the middle of nowhere. And they just simply boils down to no respect for the army. They're just taking advantage of them. And I say this to every soldier. They're just taking advantage of you. They're taking advantage of you. They're disregarding your loyalty. Because the Irish soldiers are supposed to be loyal to the death to Ireland. And to the government of Ireland, to the President of Ireland too. Which is probably, which if I was in their situation, I wouldn't dare to even call them a government. Because I don't, like, this is a joke. It's not even a joke anymore. It's actually just turning into an absolute outrage. It's not, like, it's getting worse, and it's not getting better. It's getting worse. Next week we'll be seeing there'll be 5,000 or 6,000 trucks lying in the middle of the army base, not being used, and just taking up space. Like, there was one thing I read a while ago. Do you know the motorbikes Michael Higgins rides around with his escort, his private escort of the army? You know what? Do you know what we were like? Instead of paying the men, you know what we do? We buy new motorbikes. 145,000. You know what? So we might as well. Because we don't have. It's not like the army don't get paid in this country. You know what? We buy bikes from Germany to be grand, but nobody care less. I wouldn't mind. They got 45 million in the vets spending for equipment. I would rather, and I'd rather say this straight, I would rather them not be able to fight at all, but I would rather them live and have a living wage and able to support their family, able to support their wives, able to feed their child, put food on the table, than have any guns. I would rather them do that. I would actually rather them do that. I wouldn't complain then. But treating the army so badly, this is only, I know people always say this is only one thing, but it's a huge, huge thing in the midst of this, because this is a huge thing. It's pay conditions. I can go on forever. Lack of staff, lack of they say it's a lack of equipment, but I don't know where they're spending the money, because I don't know. It just boils down to, I don't know what Leo Varadkar's thinking. I don't know what they're taking, and I don't know what the person's thinking. I don't know. If I was President of Ireland, simple as that, he's Commander-in-Chief of the Army. Basically, he's a figurehead for the Irish state. He's basically has one job, which is Commander-in-Chief of the Army. I say this straight is, if I was Commander-in-Chief of the Army, and if the army got this bad, if I was president, if I was sitting there looking at them going downhill and the army losing morale and losing strength, I would sign the paper saying I would sign as president, because it'd be so much shame. Because I'm sick and tired of the government treating the army like this and treating the navy. I'm sick to the core of listening to them, because it's just sickening how they haven't got a say in this, the army. That they just have to accept it. You know, when they were given a rise, they were given €400 for rise. You know, they just had to accept it. Nobody could complain. Their families could complain, but the army couldn't complain. They couldn't say anything. And you know what? If they did complain, they couldn't listen to them. Because you know what? Because soldiers are standing to speak up against the government. They're standing to speak up against the president. I hear so many soldiers. I see them online giving damn out about the president, giving damn out about the army, saying I'm going to leave the army 2 months. So that says a lot. Because before that, they're not allowed to speak about against the army if they're in the army, which is basically cutting off the voices, and only for the families of the defence forces. We would have never heard anything about this situation in the defence forces, because they would have just blocked it out, smothered it over with plaster, and left them to do their own thing. You know what? I have enough.